We are back, kids, and today our guest is Mark Ferguson. Mark, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful, Jim. Coach.
So great to have you with us, kids. Mark is the owner and founder of a restaurant called Ferg's. Now, some of you might have been there before. It is a place that's right near the baseball stadium where the Rays play, and it's a very popular and well-known place. But Mark also used to be a PE teacher. But I'm going to let him tell you about his life story. Mark, tell the kids about Mark Ferguson.
Well, I want you to know I was born and raised in St. Pete. Went to Bay Vista Elementary, Bay Point Middle School, and Lakewood High School. Had a great upbringing, and went off to college in Fort Myers to play baseball. Ended up finishing up at Florida State University. And after that, I moved back to St. Pete and got a teaching job. At the same time, I went back to school and got my master's from Nova University. And I taught for 7 years. I taught for 11 years till I founded Ferg Sports Bar. And then I taught and opened Ferg's for the next 7 years. So I did both because I wasn't sure if we were going to make it or not.
Wow.
And it was a crazy year. We opened Ferg Sports Bar, got married, had a baby, all in 1 year. So I was very busy in my 30s, very busy.
Wow, what was that year? Was that 92? What year was
1992. It's going on 29 years of small steps.
Wow, small steps. Wow, that's maybe you can touch back on that in a little bit, because that's something we talk about too. Is you can't do everything in a day, but you can do a lot. So tell us about being a teacher, a PE teacher. You were a PE teacher, right, Mark?
I was a phys ed teacher and a health teacher at Southside Fundamental, which luckily was one of the best schools in the county. It's now closed, and all those kids got moved to Madeira Beach Fundamental.
Okay, that's quite a move. But, oh, by the way, Mark, one time in 1990, actually, for 1 year, I stopped teaching and I was trying to coach soccer full time, but I did some substitute teaching, and I actually subbed for you one day at Southside. Did I ever tell you that?
No, you never told me
I
that.
Subbed for
That's
you
crazy.
At Southside Fundamental. And you'll get a kick out of this. I opened one of the drawers to get a pencil, and there was a whole bunch of cards with used car information on them. I'm like, what is that going on? This guy's keeping himself busy. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I had a used car lot for 4 years.
Wow.
And I always like to have I always have to have like 3 or 4 cans you're kicking down the road, because you don't know which one's going to go anywhere or which one's going to go off the road.
What a great piece of advice. So tell us about those days as a PE teacher, and then forming in your mind the idea of opening Ferg's.
I really enjoyed teaching. I never had a bad day teaching. My whole life has been sports, and I just enjoyed the interaction with the kids out there exercising every day, trying to tell them the right things to do, always being a doer, not a watcher. Everybody's different, but at least you can always put a foot in front of the other one and get your exercise, because that's the most important thing you have is your health. You have to have your health. So as I was teaching, I was going to school one day, and I saw this old gas station that was a used car lot at the time. All the cars were gone, and there was a sign for sale. And luckily enough, I was able to pull in, take down the phone number, call the city, and ask what I could put there. And everything happened really quick, and we ended up putting some friends and family together, and your brother's one of them. And we bought the property, and it took about 1.5 years to renovate the property. And November 23rd, 1992, we opened up Ferg Sports Bar with just 75 seats. You fast forward to now, Super Bowl, we had a ticketed event, and we had over 1,100 tickets sold for the Super Bowl this year.
Wow.
So that's 29 years of making improvements to your business to keep up with all the competition. I mean, we started with, I think, 8 TVs, and now we have 84 TVs.
Wow.
So I made a lot of mistakes over the years, but you just keep trying.
Boy, that's so good. I hear the PE teacher in you talking, and those lessons, they never change, do they?
No, they don't. The basics come first every day. I still get up every day and work out before I go to work, and I enjoy it. It gets your body going.
Yes.
I always ask kids, when's the best time to work out? You know, the morning, lunchtime, or after 5 o'clock if you work. And they all raise their hand. They have different answers, and they're all right. Whenever you can work out is the best time. But if you can work out first thing in the morning, you get your body moving, and you're going to burn more calories. Also, you can't make excuses the rest of the day. At lunch, you can say, oh, I have to go to lunch with somebody. After work, you say, oh, I have to go do laundry. I got to miss my workout today. So the earlier you can do it and make it a habit, the better.
That's great. That's great advice. Really good advice. We later, I'll send you some clips of what we do with exercise with our kids, and then and we'll talk about that at some later point. But what I want to ask you about, Mark, is take us back to the 9, 10, 11-year-old Mark. What was that kid like?
Wow, that's a great question, because at 9 years old, I was really a home person. Didn't have a lot of friends, rode my bike a lot. But at 10 years old, a friend of mine said, let's go play some baseball. And I got on a baseball team. And then I started meeting other friends. And when it was football season, we played football. When it was basketball season, we played basketball. And luckily, I was a little taller and fast for my age. And I was pretty good, 10, 11, 12 years old. And then when I started playing school sports, I did pretty well at basketball and played football in high school, and just 1 year, but played 3 years of varsity baseball and basketball at Lakewood. And I was a coach. I was a captain on both teams. So I was very blessed to get into sports at 10 years old. All right. My whole life now has been sports and exercising and serving people. That's one other thing I'd like to say. If you always open the door for people and you say thank you, you don't look for anything to pay you back, but it will over time. Always try to help other people, and it will come back to you twofold.
Well, that's great. That's great stuff, Mark. Do you remember PE in school?
Oh, yeah, that was my favorite subject. That and recess. Come on.
Of course.
We used to play kickball, dodgeball at recess, and then PE. We played all the games, and I remember the president's testing.
Yes.
That was, you run the 50, you long jump, you do all kinds of things, pull-ups. That was my favorite time of year. Sit-ups, and I always try to beat everybody. Didn't always work out that way, but I was always trying.
That's awesome. That's great. PE is a special place. I think it's the place you can learn more than any other place in school, which people don't look at PE that way. But I actually think that's my own personal opinion. There's just so many life skills you can learn in PE. And
no, Coach, you're totally right, because you're exercising, which helps you in the classroom to calm down, but it also teaches you to become a team player and get along with other people. And that's a whole key to life, no matter what you do, is have a good team around you.
Yes, 100%. Whenever anybody goes into Ferg's, you can see that it's a team. It just is a team. You can just see it, and that's got to be starting from the top down. So that's credit to you. Can I ask you two more questions? Do you
Yes.
remember any particular stories or things about your time as a teacher that stick with you?
Um, I do remember this. It wasn't. I was on the other field, and this girl that was a very good gymnast wasn't dressed out that day. She was sitting on the side, and all of a sudden she got up on the pull-up bars, and she did a flip off, and she broke her wrist.
Oh,
And I went over and helped her, and she was so upset because the next day she was going to be in the nationals gymnast competition.
oh my
And because she didn't follow what the teacher told her to sit there, she lost out on a big event, which I think her whole life she'll look back on. I should have did what the teacher told me to just sit there.
Wow, that's good. What a story. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great stuff. Hey, not for that poor girl, by the way. It's not great stuff
Right,
for her.
right.
But in the end, probably it is. I mean, that's a hard way to learn a lesson, but it's probably one you'll never forget. Mark, the last thing I want to ask you, the kids that are listening are generally 9, 10, and 11 years old. And do you have any advice for them, especially if someone is thinking maybe one day they might be a teacher or a coach or get into business of any kind?
Yes, I would tell you it's always every year is going to change. Everything's so quick now. Do something you like. Do something you enjoy. Try different things. Push yourself to do things you don't want to do. Good things, that is, good things. And you'll never know where you'll end up. And in a million years, I would never dream that I would own my own sports bar, restaurant in my hometown. In a million years, I wouldn't dream that. But after I got older and I had an opportunity, I started dreaming more, and luckily I had the goodwill and the hard work to make it happen, because it takes a lot. Keep trying different things and do what your passion is. You'll go a lot farther in life.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for this time spent with us today. And when I get the finished product up, I'll send it out to you, and I'll make sure the kids know, if they don't, about Fergs. And if any of the kids come into Fergs and they come up to you and they say, hey, Mr. Ferguson, I was in Cypress Woods, Coach Hart's class. Would that be okay?
That would be great.
Beautiful.
I might even give them free tickets to the Rays, to
Oh,
the baseball.
goodness. All right. Sounds good.
Okay?
Thanks, Mark.
Jim, thank you, Coach.
Take
See
care.
you. Bye.